Channel 5, KSTP-TV, St. Paul, Minneapolis.
Folks, go out and get a good look at your driveways and the curbs on your street. Savor the sight of that beautiful asphalt, because it might be a while before you see all that stuff again. Dennis Feltgen tells us there's a storm heading our way, and it looks like a big storm heading our way. No doubt about it. This winter stuff is getting old. Tonight, we're going to ask some of the hardier types, that's anybody who hasn't left town yet, how they are coping with it. And we're going to take you back to the scene of that $5-alarm $1 million fire at downtown St. Paul last night. Almost 100 firefighters were called out for that. And Arthur Ballet will check in. He goes all out, in fact, to bring us a review of the latest spy thriller, The Amateur. We'll have that and more coming up in just a moment on Eyewitness News at 5.
Eyewitness News at 5 with meteorologist Dennis Feltgen and newscaster Stan Turner.
Good afternoon, everyone. You know those T-shirts? They're selling the ones that say, "I survived the Minnesota winter of '82." Well, folks, we haven't survived it. Not yet. There's still tomorrow to get through. Dennis Feltgen has the bad news for us. Dennis, I'm tough. I can take it.
I love an optimist.
What's going to happen to us, Dennis?
Well, Stan, as we've been talking about for the past couple of days, a major winter storm, late winter, early spring storm is still gathering strength in New Mexico right now, and it appears certain it's going to move into the Midwest, and that includes Minnesota. Here's a satellite, Lou, for the last 8 hours, and we'll roll this along, and the storm center is now reforming in New Mexico, as we mentioned, with a tremendous cloud shield now beginning to be pulled up ahead of it, and some of those clouds are indeed beginning to move into Minnesota, and precipitation getting close as well. Here's a national radar map across the country, and in the midsection of the U.S., thunderstorms are breaking out. But across the Rockies, it's rain and snow. The two will combine and begin moving on up into Minnesota, creating a very serious weather situation, no question about it. As far as the advisory is concerned, we have a winter storm watch out for just about the entire state of Minnesota, except the north central and northwestern corner for tomorrow and tomorrow night. There is also a flash flood watch in effect for extreme southeastern Minnesota and southern Wisconsin for tomorrow, because they expect some rainfall, which could produce a flash flooding situation. But here in the Twin Cities, we expect it to start out as rain, then go to heavy snow by tomorrow afternoon, and we're looking at amounts which, saying significant is putting it mildly, it may be in the neighborhood of 6 to 12 inches. More coming up later, Stan.
That's what I thought. Dennis, your forecasting accuracy really is excellent, but I'll tell you something. On a personal level, your credibility with me will not slip a notch if you're wrong, dead wrong on this one, and I hope you are.
I'm with you.
Yeah, okay, we'll check with you later. I don't know if you know what I think about, I think you do, this latest weather development, or about this winter in general, or if either opinion is repeatable on the air. But we did go out today to find out what some of you think about the winter of '82 and how you're coping with it. So we'll get to that in just a bit, but right now, let's go to Jay Shadler, a guy who just adores winter. He's in the newsroom. Jay, you've got some news for us.
Speak for yourself, Stan.
Right.
They are getting hit very hard in the midsection of the country by flooding problems all through that part of the country. Flood waters have now poured through holes in a 15-foot high dike in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Last night that happened. Hundreds more residents had to run for high ground there, and there are now 9,000 people cut off from their homes in Fort Wayne. Volunteers worked through the night helping people out of their homes and trying to plug the holes. City officials say they are pretty sure the dikes will hold, but they aren't sure that the dikes are tall enough. Well, what caused that huge fire that ripped through a 5-story building in downtown St. Paul last night? Still no answer from arson investigators who spent all day long probing what's left of the Halper Box Company at 4th and Wall Street. We have more from Dave Andrews.
It took only minutes for the fire to spread through the big brick building last night. It took close to 100 firefighters nearly 4 hours to bring it under control, but not before the Halper Box Company had been totally destroyed. About 30 tenants in an adjoining building were all safely evacuated, but their apartments suffered heavy smoke damage. This morning, as the building continued to smolder, St. Paul arson investigators began to look for clues into what started the fire. So far, there are no answers. You can't say at this point whether arson is a possible cause of it?
No, it's too early to determine any cause at this time.
Residents of the adjoining building began to gather up their heavily smoke-damaged belongings today, and Seymour Epstein, owner of the Halper Box Company, looked on in disbelief at his burned-out building.
It's a great shock. I'm still shaking. It's hard to believe. I thought somebody was playing a trick on me, and I hope they were, but obviously they weren't. So came down, the building is engulfed in flames. So, but we're going to rebuild. I mean, definitely. So.
And late this afternoon, a wrecking crane was called in to tear down upper walls that were threatening to fall on their own. Damage estimates are already running into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. What caused the fire is still a mystery. Dave Andrews, Channel 5 Eyewitness News, St. Paul.
Lawmakers are back at it today after a 4-day recess, and the House has just defeated a budget compromise that they worked out last night. Government specialist Marcia Fleur is standing by, live from the Capitol. Marcia, what does all this mean?
Well, it means either back to the drawing board or go home and let the governor make all of the cuts himself. The Minnesota Constitution says that our budget has to be balanced. Obviously, the House today did not like what the governor and other Democratic and independent Republican lawmakers worked out over the past 3 days. They defeated a $232 million package, which would have raised taxes, done some shifting, and made some cuts. The independent Republicans stuck together on this one, the 59 of them present, all voting no. They were joined by 8 Democrats. We will know a little bit later whether this means that everybody's going to go home without a solution and let the governor do it or not, Jay.
Okay, thank you, Marcia. Meanwhile, in Washington today, President Reagan made it clear that he wasn't very happy with American business leaders who are not fully supporting his economic program. Speaking before the National Association of Manufacturers, Reagan told businessmen to set aside displays of what he called blatant self-interest and get behind his program. Reagan pointed to what he said were 2 early signs of economic recovery: the recent drops in the inflation rate and today's economic report that Americans' personal income rose last month by 0.5 percentage point. Eugene McCarthy announced this morning that he's going to be running for the U.S. Senate seat he gave up 12 years ago. These days, McCarthy writes poetry, lectures, and generally criticizes the operation of government. In 1970, McCarthy ended his career in government by resigning from the Senate. Since that time, McCarthy has lived in Virginia while maintaining a voting residence here in Minnesota. Despite his absence, McCarthy says he's kept up on the problems of our state and also in the Senate.
Actually, if I'd been living here reading Bill Sumner and what comes out in the Minneapolis Star, I would feel much less prepared to represent the state on national issues than I do, having been where I was.
McCarthy said that he will be seeking the DFL party endorsement, and he will be running in the primary election with or without the party's backing. Stan?
Jay, Bill Sumner, whom McCarthy mentioned there, is an editorial writer on the St. Paul Dispatch and Pioneer Press. Knowing Bill as I do, he's probably going to have something to say about that. That's going to be fun to watch. Thank you. It may be a little difficult to believe right now, but Saturday is officially the first day of something they call spring. Not that it's going to be a very spring-like area around here. We asked a lot of people how they're coping, what they think of this stuff, this slop. You pick the noun. We'll have their responses for you when we return.
You may need an attorney more often than you realize. It may be in drawing up a will, the probate of an estate, purchase of a home. It could be matters like divorce, adoption, incorporation of a business, bankruptcy, or your rights and obligations under a contract. If you have legal problems, call an attorney. If you don't know an attorney, call your lawyer referral service, and they will refer you to an attorney.
To perk up plain meat meals,
reach for the spoon.
Betty Crocker scallop potatoes, made from fresh russet slices with a delicately seasoned white sauce. With pork chops there.
Reach for the spoon.
Betty Crocker au gratin potatoes, real russet slices in a sauce tangy with real cheddar cheese. Sure gives meatloaf a lift.
Sure does.
Perk up your plain meat meals with Betty Crocker potatoes.
Reach for the spoon. The Betty Crocker spoon.
Super Value stores remind you, it's that time of year again.
Colds and flu are going around. If they get around to you, put Bufferin to work on the aches, pains, and fever. Bufferin has buffered strength. That means strong aspirin, the pain reliever doctors prefer, plus special protection against aspirin stomach upset. Get the buffered strength of Bufferin for the pain and fever of colds and flu.
Bufferin in the 100-tablet bottle is feature priced at Super Value stores.
Macrame's easy at Lee Ward's.
It is?
Sign up this week and you'll save 50% on beginner classes. You'll get lots of help, and after 4 easy sessions, you'll make 2 lovely projects. Our macrame supplies are on sale too. save 40% on colorful maxi cord and save 30% on lots of other cords. With classes and savings like this, macrame's easy at Lee Ward's. It is.
Lee Ward's, America's Home Craft Center.
Do you remember what 75 or 80 degrees feels like? Seems like kind of a dream, doesn't it? You don't need any meteorological statistics to tell you that this has been one tough winter. Our Libby Znaimer found a lot of people who don't know what they'll do if spring doesn't come soon.
This is our pre-spring weather, gray and foreboding. The streets are filthy. It's impossible to avoid the puddles. All pedestrians can do is try to avoid being splashed.
Disgusting. It's the pits. The absolute pit.
It was worse earlier this week. On Tuesday, we awoke to find a fresh coat of heavy, wet snow that soon turned into slush and muck. The fact that today was better only confused people. They didn't know whether to dress for winter or spring or a little bit of both.
It teases you. It was nice for those few days, and now you come back and it hurts.
Between finals and this weather,
just poor.
I'd like to jump off the Washington Avenue Bridge.
And the worst isn't over yet.
But then a winter storm watch covers all of southern Minnesota, including the Twin Cities area, as well as almost all of South Dakota. That's for the anticipation of that storm for tomorrow, with the possibility of some heavy snow here in the Twin Cities. But I'm going to take a look at this equinoctial storm just a couple of minutes, and it looks like a strong one.
Have you ever wondered how meteorologists can smile when they deliver news like that? Dave Dahl was still smiling when he told me that tomorrow's storm would be one of the worst this winter. He thinks smiling makes people feel better when they hear bad news about the weather, but the weather doesn't bother him.
I grew up in this weather. It's great. I've lived in the Twin Cities area, and I think most Minnesotans can live with this kind of weather. That's why I smile.
It makes me really mad, yeah. What can I say? I wish it would get warm.
What can we do about it? I mean, what can we do? We can't stop the snow.
We may not be able to stop the snow, but we don't have to stick around for it. I found many people with just one thing on their mind.
Florida, when you need it bad.
Where are you going?
Florida. I think I'll go down to the airport and buy a ticket to Florida to go with these guys.
Why don't you go for spring break down to Florida?
Not a bad idea if you can swing it, but not all of us can.
It's driving me crazy. I just got a new bike on Monday and I can't ride it. I'm going to go crazy with this weather any minute now.
To be fair, not everyone feels this way. Some people can go on loving a Minnesota winter for as long as it hangs on.
Yeah, the only problem around here, people complain about winter too much. Why should they? They should enjoy it.
I can't believe it.
Sounds like donuts in that one.
You better go back where you came from.
What the heck, you got to take it, it's coming as it goes. Sure.
Okay.
This is Minnesota. What else you expect?
The bottom line is that we're going to be stepping over filthy snowbanks and walking into all kinds of slop for at least a little while longer. But if you believe what the meteorologists say, it'll feel better if you smile. Libby Znaimer, Channel 5 Eyewitness News.
We do admit that smiling through all the worst the winter throws our way can be a bit of a challenge, but if you're depressed, you may be comforted to know that you have plenty of company, and sometimes it gets serious. Our medical specialist, Dr. Michael Breen, is here with more on the psychological effects of this long winter. I don't mean to be unnecessarily negative about this today, but, I usually kind of pat myself on the back for enduring this stuff, but it's gotten to me, and I'm an optimist.
I've noticed that you're unusually sardonic today.
You used that term just, Libby's story was
and I don't blame you for feeling that way. I think
it's kind of hard to hide it,
That's right, and the weather has more of an effect on our personality than we usually give it credit for. I think a lot of people wonder, how can the weather affect something as personal as, say, a crisis in someone's life? And yet it does have an effect. In fact, there's an entire science called biometeorology, which looks at how the weather can affect our physical and mental well-being. Statistics from that science show depression is more common in some months than others. Unfortunately, one of the worst months, locally and nationally, is March. One way to prove that is by looking at suicide rates. At the Hennepin County Medical Center, March has always been one of the worst months for suicides. During that month last year, 15 people took their own lives. That compares with an average of about 10 suicides a month for the rest of the year. Why the rate goes up is unclear, but experts say one possibility is the type of weather we're now having.
This time of year, it seems a little hopeless when you have a
taste of nice weather, and suddenly there's a severe storm warning.
That might be the reason for these statistics.
Might be. I want to emphasize that a peak, if there is one, is a minor one, just a slight increase or slight tendency at those times of year.
There are two theories as to why that tendency exists. Some experts say it's the result of 5 months of cabin fever and gloomy days like this one. But there's another more surprising theory. According to that theory, it's not the end of a long winter that leads to suicide, it's the beginning of a new spring.
The hypothesis, at least, is that as the weather is turning and there's the hope of the new season, that someone whose life has maybe been manageable up to that point, who doesn't see an immediate improvement right on the horizon, may decide that that's the time to give up and stop fighting.
That might be one reason March is also a busy month for the Crisis Intervention Center. Records here show that right about now there's an increase in the number of patients with emotional problems. Again, one of the reasons why is the weather.
Oh, the winter's too long, you know, they're getting tired of the weather, getting tired of being cooped up. And
does that result in more depression?
I think it results in more irritation, more depression in general.
Now, you know, Ellenson, he emphasized there are a number of reasons why people depressed go over the edge, and the weather is just one of many variables. You know, I'm in the same position as kind of Liv Eisenheimer was. I'm going to smile even though I'm presenting something that is hardly is material to smile about. One nice thing, though, about all these grave statistics is that when spring comes, the suicide and depression rates go way down, and they're not going to pick up for several months. So at least that's one aspect that's pretty positive about all this.
All right. I'll keep smiling too, okay?
So will I. Let's all try to do that.
Of course, the trick is, Michael, getting through the next few days. And if the KSTP weather computers are right, it may be real interesting. We'll be back with Dennis Feltgen in the latest forecast. We don't want any more surprises, do we, tomorrow?
Nobody serves our republic like Republic. Nobody flies our country like we do. From sea to shining sea, where would you like to be? Nobody serves as many cities just for you. Nobody serves the people like Republic. With a small town smile and a big city style, Republic goes all the way for you. Nobody serves our republic like Republic.
Super value stores know what to do when life gets too tough.
Life's tough, we're all right. Interest rates, mortgages, my husband and I both working. Sometimes I get an awful headache.
Life got tougher, and we got stronger. Extra strength Excedrin with the 2 most powerful pain relievers you can buy, plus a 3rd ingredient to give you unsurpassed headache relief.
Good job, Excedrin.
Life got tougher, and we got stronger.
Extra strength Excedrin in the 100-tablet bottle is specially priced at super value stores.
Everywhere I go, people ask me, Arnie, is that old tractor you drove in the Pennzoil commercial still running? Still running? We use it here at Latrobe every day. And with Pennzoil protecting the engine, there are a lot more miles left in it. You know, this old tractor and I are a lot alike. We're both still using Pennzoil, and we're both still running.
Gas-saving Pennzoil. Quality in every extra mile.
The Toyota Dealer Sales Marathon is running strong. He's selling trucks, but he's also selling cars, like Toyota Celicas, because he's out to sell every last Celica this month. You could get the right stuff right now for a lot less than you think. Celica lift-action sport coupe, aerodynamic design with a big 2.4-liter engine, retractable headlights and more, so see your Toyota dealer now. Run, don't walk. When you buy, you win. Look for the marathon sign at participating Toyota dealers.
Dennis Feltgen is ready. He has a whole lot to tell us, so there you go, Dennis.
Hey, I think you'll like what I have to tell you first, Dan. Just had a call from a viewer in Circle Pines, 2 robins in her front yard. You see, spring can't be that far away. But right now, you can call it the calm before the storm. 5 o'clock temperature in the Twin Cities under overcast skies. It's a real comfortable 40, humidity 70%, pressure steady at 30.25 inches. But indeed, it is the calm before the storm, and what a storm it is. We've been talking about this one moving in across the west coast for the past couple of days. And the best place to look at the West Coast would be from a satellite right over the Pacific area. So we'll roll this along for the past 12 to 18 hours and look at the circulation in the western half of the country. That's the storm really winding up. There's one center which is weakening, and another one beginning to take its place. In fact, here's the weather map, latest weather map we have here at KSTP Weather Services. The old center of the storm is in southwestern Idaho. That's weakening. A new storm center is beginning to gather strength in New Mexico, and this is the one which will begin moving out of the lower Rockies into the central plains and upper Midwest within the next 24 to 48 hours and spread a large area of precipitation in the form of thunderstorms, rain, and snow. In fact, this one is going to be quite unquestionably a big one. Now, the Severe Storms Forecast Center is expecting a big outbreak of severe weather from the Oklahoma-Texas panhandles right through the mid-Mississippi Valley and into the Ohio Valley during the day tomorrow and into tomorrow night. Severe thunderstorms with hail and the possibility of tornadoes. For our part of the country, in the cold air behind the storm, winter storm watches have gone into effect for the strong possibility of heavy snow. And for rain, there are flash flood watches in effect for parts of Iowa, Wisconsin, and northern Illinois. Now let's narrow this down a little further around Minnesota and Wisconsin. Again, winter storm watches for heavy snow is anticipated for tomorrow and tomorrow night. That's in Minnesota and northwestern Wisconsin. Flash flood watches for heavy rain on top of everything else in extreme southeastern Minnesota and southern Wisconsin. So we'll put it all together. Here's the way the forecast reads for tonight. It'll be cloudy and mild with a chance of rain or snow later tonight with lows of 30 to 35. But then for tomorrow and tomorrow night, the winter storm watch goes into effect. Cloudy with rain or snow in the morning, changing to heavy snow in the afternoon, and winds of 20 to 35 miles per hour will create hazardous driving conditions. Highs of 33 to 37, lows of 28 to 32. Precipitation chances will, of course, jump up to near 100% for tomorrow. And by the way, if you have some grocery items you need to get or some things you would normally have done tomorrow or Saturday, do them by tomorrow morning because things are just going to be a nightmare trying to drive by tomorrow afternoon. Stan?
All right. Thank you, Dennis. Remember the song, It Never Rains in Southern California, but it pours? Well, that's exactly what it's been doing at Edwards Air Force Base, where the Space Shuttle Columbia was supposed to land after its next flight. Well, the countdown has started for the March 22nd launch, but because heavy rains have washed out the desert runways at Edwards, the landing now has been moved to White Sands, New Mexico. When we come back, we're going to do our very, very best to explain just why our film critic Arthur Ballet spent the better part of one whole day this week skulking about in a trench coat. Arthur will be back here in a flash.
Holiday Warehouse wants to know, what did you take for your last cold?
Last cold Bayer, this cold Comtrex.
Last cold Ristan, this cold Comtrex. I switched because Comtrex relieves all my major cold symptoms.
You could take any of these for a cold, but for one with nasal congestion, runny nose, aches, and coughs, Comtrex does more. All by itself, Comtrex gives more kinds of relief than Dristan or Contac or Bayer.
For your next cold, get Comtrex. 50 tablets, now just $2.89 at Holiday Warehouse.
Even six-figure homes can be ordinary. But there's nothing ordinary about Evergreen, where one of 8 Evergreen custom builders will blend a home architect designed just for you into the seclusion of an evergreen forest that would make Minnesota's North Woods green with envy. Is the world's most beautiful neighborhood just 12 minutes from downtown St. Paul? Move out of the ordinary and into Evergreen.
What do the professionals say about new Reynolds plastic wrap?
I've got Reynolds plastic wrap. The Reynolds wrap people make it especially for commercial users like me whose business depends on freshness. But now you can buy Reynolds plastic wrap at your supermarket. The same strength, the same tight cling. Just think of it. Now you can protect freshness at home with the same wrap we professionals use with Reynolds plastic wrap.
New Reynolds plastic wrap, the plastic wrap professionals use.
Germany, home of Volkswagen. What's a Mazda GLC doing here? Making a point about outstanding value in an economy car. Because while the sophisticated GLC offers the performance, economy, and versatility you expect in a front-wheel drive economy car, it offers it at a price you most certainly don't expect. The more you look at some of the finest economy cars in the world, the more you like the 1982 Mazda GLC.
A new spy movie is playing the Twin Cities these days. It's called The Amateur, and film critic Arthur Ballet has been to see it. And I don't know what to say about what you're about to see, except that Arthur couldn't resist.
You know, I've always loved spy movies, even if they don't make any sense. In fact, I've had a secret dream that one day the CIA would come along and they would recruit me. And then I'd put on my trench coat and I could slink along.
Well, back to The Amateur. John Savage plays a mild, quiet cryptographer who works for the CIA, and his girlfriend is randomly murdered by a band of terrorists. He tries to get the CIA to help revenge the murder, but failing that, he blackmails that organization into getting him into Prague, where, apparently, the terrorist gang is hiding out. He not only comes up against that crowd, but also the Russian-controlled spy agency and the Czech police department, represented by Christopher Plummer, who doubles as a Shakespeare Francis Bacon expert. Don't ask me why. And all of them gang up in trying to eliminate poor old John Savage. Frankly, the beginning of The Amateur is better than any part of it until the very end. The Amateur pretends to be based on fact, and while I doubt it, I can't be proved right or wrong. It doesn't matter. Moreover, it is interesting to see the old law of an eye for an eye again invoked, with almost disastrous results. And there are lots of computer jazzing and cryptography talk, all of which seemed authentic. But the best test of all is to ask whether one is held in suspense about the outcome. Well, I was, because I wanted to be. And once Savage ran into Martha Keller, it even got interesting at a romantic level. So all in all, while some of it is predictable, most of it was suspenseful and exciting. Worth seeing? Sure it is. Mysterious? See The Amateur and find the answer. It's as complex as a cipher and as fascinating as watching a snake eat its own tail. I'm Arthur Ballet, your KSTP-TV film critic.
Copies of those messages.
Thank you, Arthur, and we will be back in just a moment to wrap up.
For the past 4 years, the Sylvania Superset has beaten RCA and Zenith in an independent test for best overall color picture.
What about Sony?
And now, for the 5th time, more people once again pick the 19-inch Sylvania Superset over RCA and Zenith.
What about Sony?
And this year, we even tested against Sony and won.
Brooklyn Park TV, General Electronics, and Buffalo Appliance.
We're going to take a bite out of this apple to make a point. When your company has a Delta dental plan, your family can have regular dental checkups and other necessary dental services, yet you'll probably never see a big dental bill again. And that's the point. With Delta Dental, you can continue to take good, healthy bites out of things you like to eat without having dental costs take big bites out of you. Isn't it time you had a Delta dental plan where you work?
This final note, the University of Minnesota men's basketball team went through a light workout this morning at the Civic Center in Birmingham, Alabama. That's the site of tonight's NCAA postseason basketball tourney. Minnesota meets Louisville in this single elimination tournament, with the winner advancing to a berth in Saturday's finals of the Mid-East region. Channel 5's Larry Burnett is in Birmingham with the Gophers, and tonight at 6 o'clock, he'll have his pregame report for us. Please join us for that, the latest news and weather. Right now to ABC.
News tonight with Peter Jennings at the Foreign Desk in London.
Oil-producing nations prepare to meet in Vienna, and they're worried.
Max Robinson in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Fort Wayne survives one crisis but faces yet another, threatened in the latest weather forecast.
And from our desk in Washington, Frank Reynolds.
Good evening. The United States today predicted a rising tide of violence in El Salvador between now and the presidential election scheduled for March 28th. And there has indeed been more violence, this time directed against foreign journalists trying to report on the conflict. The victims, 4 members of a Dutch television and radio crew. Just how they were killed and by whom is not totally clear. We have this report from Jack Smith.
Local villagers pointed to where, late yesterday afternoon, they heard gunfire. Close by, reporters found bits of bloody clothing. Pants and shirts were riddled with bullet holes. This shirt had bullet holes in the back. An empty box of news film was wedged in a nearby tree, and empty M16 shell casings were on the ground. Some guerrillas are armed with M16s, but so too are all the local security forces. The Dutch journalists were known to be sympathetic to the guerrillas. 6 days ago, the local press here reported that one of them had been questioned by police for contacting the guerrillas, as many journalists do. But according to a colleague, police subsequently threatened them. He wouldn't appear on camera, but told ABC News he thought his friends had been ambushed by Salvadoran police. The extreme right here published a death list yesterday with the names of 35 reporters. Most were American, but the 4 Dutchmen were not on it. The Foreign Press Corps here has been repeatedly criticized by the Salvadorian extreme right for being pro-guerrilla, and assassination has been the constant nightmare of reporters covering this story. But whether the 4 Dutch journalists were shot down by the security forces, or as the government says, killed in a crossfire, is not yet clear. Jack Smith, ABC News, near Chalatenango, El Salvador.
This is David Ensor. No comment from officials.